Yes, we are. Well, hello. Welcome to this Skill Shops on Researching with Artificial Intelligence, aka AI. We are your North Campus librarians. My name is Simone Williams.
Hello, everybody. My name is Edwin Gilmore.
Thanks
And
for watching this video.
yeah, uh,
And I did want to ask on this sheep scale, how do you feel today? So if you're
uh,
watching this, I think it's just a nice practice to take a couple minutes to check in with how you're feeling in this given moment and sort of pause for that.
I'll go with number two for me. Yeah,
I think that's a good one. I
yeah.
think that's a good that's a good mood to be in. I think I'm sort of a number nine.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah,
I went to the dentist today and have no cavities, so I'm nine and I'm here right now doing this presentation. So
that's
I'm feeling
awesome.
pretty good.
Cool. Jenny said eight.
So today during this video, you'll be learning how to summarize the definition, benefits, and limitations of AI and chatbots, how to construct prompts for research questions and topic outlines in ChatGPT, and then finally, how to access library resources to align with those topic outlines that you will have generated in ChatGPT. Okay, the first question I'm going to pose is, in one word, describing what artificial intelligence means to you.
Let's see here.
And I mean, there's not a lot of us here, so if you want to just say it out loud, you can. And if you're watching the video recording, then then go ahead and just kind of think about a word that you would use to describe artificial intelligence. So we've got the Terminator. Do
Yes, the Terminator.
you want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, yeah, from what my understanding of the movie, it's a sort of machine from the future that uses artificial intelligence to determine its next move, I guess, based on calculated measures.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like a lot of tools that we are using today. All those recommendations that you get on your phone and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
definitely artificially intelligent, biased, I guess. But yeah, I think it's pretty funny to see the I guess the progression, or at least the transition from that movie when I was a little kid and to the current day. Hopefully the movie isn't as accurate as our future. So
Hopefully.
yeah.
That kind of leads me to you mentioned something about like it figuring out how to make things easier or like maps. And that brings up my word, which is efficiency. I think it's really our AI is helpful in making our lives more efficient. And it's to me the way I use it is to figure, or what I spend a lot of time doing when I'm using AI is figuring out how to make it more efficient for my purposes. And with that being said, I also have some skepticism because it is so unknown and it is a little bit scary. So I do kind of acknowledge that aspect of it as well. I don't think that you can just totally embrace AI without also thinking about some of the disadvantages or limitations or threats to about it. So,
Yep. Well put.
okay, so now just back to the presentation. I have a short video. It's about 2.5 minutes long, uh, introducing you to the concept of AI and machine learning. So I'm going to play that now.
My name is Ale Flores, and I'm a product manager at Alexa.
My name is Dr. Chelsea Haupt. I work at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, and I work on an AI-powered academic search engine. All around you, computers are making decisions, and those decisions affect your daily life. When you do an internet search or scroll through your newsfeed, computers decide what you see. Computers can already recognize your face and understand your voice, and soon they'll be driving cars and detecting diseases even better than humans. So how is any of this possible?
You may have heard about something called AI, or artificial intelligence. True artificial intelligence is decades away. But there's a type of AI called machine learning that is here today. It's a type of AI you probably interact with every day without even knowing it. And it has the opportunity to help us tackle some of the world's biggest challenges.
Machine learning is how computers recognize patterns and make decisions without being explicitly programmed. What's so exciting is that it's a completely different way to program a computer than what we've ever done before. With machine learning, instead of programming a computer step by step, you can program a computer to learn just like you learn, through trial and error and lots of practice.
Learning comes from experience, and that's true for machine learning too. In this case, experience means lots and lots of data. Machine learning can take in any kind of data, images, video, audio, or text, and begin to recognize patterns in that data. Once it learns to recognize patterns in the data, it can also learn to make predictions based on those patterns, like noticing the difference between an image of a car and an image of a bicycle.
AI and machine learning are playing a bigger and bigger role in society at large and shaping all of our futures. That's why it's so important to learn how it works with some hands-on experience. Remember, AI is like any tool. First you get the knowledge, then you get the power.
So this was a video from an organization where they're teaching people how to code. So that's why she kind of talks about the hands-on learning and all of that. So what do you think about that video? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you kind of get a little bit better understanding of AI and machine learning.
Yeah, I'm not trying to promote the movie, but again, I think that's what the Terminator had mentioned. It is a learning machine. So I guess we have a lot of Terminators around us right now.
Yeah. Have you ever used AI before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. If so, what AI do you use the most? And sometimes you might be using things that you don't even know is considered AI, or you don't know behind the scenes that they are using AI.
Yeah, probably those GPS units or
Waze, right?
yeah, Waze, yeah.
Or even just maps, right? Any maps or Google Maps.
Yeah, they're all suggesting routes that in their opinion get you there the quickest, I guess, to your destination. So I'd say that one for sure, considering I live in a very busy city of Miami with a lot of traffic. So I always want the advice of artificial intelligence as far as where I'm driving. So that would be the most for me.
Yeah, I would say that.
Oh, Jenny said customer service
chatbot.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Chatbots make it, you know, easier, and it's easier to multitask when you're, you know, chatting with a chatbot rather than, you know, staying on the phone and waiting around and all of that. And you're getting answers that are relevant to your prompts right away. We use Amazon Alexa a lot.
Yeah.
So in the morning, what's my commute to work? What's the weather gonna be? Things like that. And then other questions.
Huh.
And of course, there's ChatGPT.
Yes. Yes, I do use ChatGPT as well.
Okay, so let's just talk about some of the benefits of using AI in research. So first you've got efficiency, which was my word, my ding, ding, ding word that described AI. It streamlines processes, saving time in data analysis. So instead of you going through all of the data that maybe a Google result will give you, it can just give you the analysis on all of those maybe different results or data points that it's getting information from, and on manuscript preparation. And I'm going to kind of emphasize the manuscript preparation in a little bit. Then there's accuracy. Techniques are being improved to identify complex patterns and correlations within large data sets. And then this is something I didn't realize until I did this presentation. And actually, really quick, I'm going to pause and go off topic a little bit. But this presentation was made with a website that I learned about from Edwin called Gamma. And it is an AI presentation website, right? So I have a free account, and I put in my prompt of what I was doing my presentation on, and it generated a presentation for me. So I ended up using like a couple slides, but everything else was my own stuff. But it really was a good starting point for me to prepare and put together this presentation. Okay, so now jumping back to the actual presentation, another benefit is innovation. So it's enabling novel approaches. There's groundbreaking discoveries and advancements that AI is helping us with. Any questions about this before we move on? If you're watching the video recording, feel free to contact us. We'll have our contact information at the end of the slide for you to, you know, contact us or make a research appointment with us. Okay, so emphasizing more on efficiency. Today, I'm going to show you specifically how to generate research questions using ChatGPT, which is a chatbot. How to do an outline for presentations and papers. So that's something that you can utilize in order to help with writing your research papers, not necessarily to do your research paper for you. And, you know, also giving you some recommendations and suggestions on how to research more efficiently. And we'll do that a little bit later. Okay, so challenges and limitations of using AI. You know, there's definitely privacy concerns. I know that is a concern I have. Making sure that my information is confidential and that any data that they're gathering from me, you know, and my interactions with AI is being handled securely and sensitively. Biasness. So we want to make sure that there are no discriminatory outcomes and skewed results in research findings. And that, you know, that can happen, especially when it comes to, you know, computers. And then interpretability. understanding and explaining that complex AI generated outputs have, you know, reliable results, and that it's being interpreted the way that it's intended to. Anything you want to add on to that, Edwin?
You know, I think with any new technology out there, there's going to be challenges and limitations. But you know, even though we're going to promote research using AI, I guess we just want to mention that, you know, there are some limitations or some caution, I guess, that you want to take when you're using AI. And I think yeah, you're going to explain a little bit more on that later.
Yes, we'll go into ChatGPT in a little bit. Okay, so my next question for you all would be, what is one takeaway you have about AI so far?
Let's see here.
And if you're watching the video recording, please just, you know, pause the video and think about something that you have learned, you know, just kind of reflecting on what we've covered so far. Okay, so we can just move on now. Okay, so now we are going to go into the world of ChatGPT. Oh, Jenny says that it's here to stay. Yeah, it's here to stay, and not just that, but it is going to get, I think it's going to grow, it's going to develop, and it's going to really change the way that we function in the world.
Put,
Obviously, jobs
yeah.
will adapt and change and pivot. The way that we just function. Again, I mean, every generation has that something. Like, I'll never forget being with some coworkers, and it was multiple generations that I was with when I first started my career in a whole different field from library world. And there was a coworker that said, I grew up before there was like radio or something. And the next person said, I grew up and there was no television. And then, I mean, maybe it wasn't radio, but it was like television. And then it's like, oh, there were no computers. And then it was, for me, it was like, there wasn't internet, you know, and there'll be the next generation that says, I grew up when there was not artificial intelligence. You know, it's kind of just the next step in our advancement with technology.
Yeah, I think I put on the Mentimeter, we're only at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I went too fast.
No, you're good. You're
Sorry.
good.
So you see so much potential. Someone sees so much potential. We're only at the beginning. Yeah, there's like so much more.
Yeah.
So this is in general, I would say this is a very positive outlook instead of the gloom and doom. So that's
yeah. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but you know, it's important that we see the positive in this.
yeah. I think the way I see it is you know, a majority is optimistically, and I do feel that again, it's like, how can I make these tools work the best for me, you know, and make things easier for me. And I think it's exciting to learn this new skill set, which is something I'm hoping that you know, anyone here today or watching the video will feel that way as well, that they are walking away with a better understanding and even skills in using AI more efficiently and effectively. Yes, exactly, Jenny. We were once all scared of Google. That is so true.
Well, Yeah, go ahead and show us as
Okay,
college
so we have
students.
another short, I like short videos, so this is, I think, like a 3-minute video about ChatGPT, which is a chatbot.
ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence tool that belongs to a category of generative AI, which can create new content in the form of text, audio, images, simulations, and computer code based on a text prompt from a user. The GPT in the tool's name stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and ChatGPT can generate an answer to almost any question it is asked. The tool was released for testing to the general public in November 2022. Since then, millions of people around the world have used the tool to create computer code, write college-level essays, generate poems, write fairy tales, compose press releases, and even create groan-inducing dad jokes. The tool is different from traditional chatbots, which rely on predefined rules and scripted responses. While chatbots can answer questions and perform basic tasks, their responses are more limited to what they have been programmed to say. These tools generally are based on decision trees, following a fixed path of questions and answers. Generative AI uses deep learning models to generate responses that are not pre-programmed. By utilizing large amounts of data, the tool can identify patterns to create unique responses to a user's input. Because answers are not scripted, generative AI can create responses that mimic human conversation with natural language. A good analogy would be chefs, who have been trained on many recipes and cooking techniques. When the chefs are asked to make a new dish, they use their experience and knowledge to create a recipe. Likewise, when generative AI is given a task, it analyzes the patterns and rules it has learned from its dataset and creates new content based on those patterns. Generative AI's creation of images is similar. It's like painters who have seen a lot of different paintings before and have learned how to create new paintings that look similar to the ones they have seen. Just as painters are able to use their knowledge of art to create new works, image-based generative AI uses its knowledge of image to create new ones. The more images that an AI is trained on, the more it can learn about different styles and features to create more diverse and unique generated images. There are several issues around the tools, however, including concerns about bias over the datasets, concerns about whether copyrighted materials are being used in the datasets, and the accuracy of responses. The makers of this technology have acknowledged that we are still in the early stages of development and that end users should not assume the answers are absolute truth. Still, the technology seems destined to be integrated into other applications and tools, with companies such as Microsoft, Google, and others adding generative AI features into their search engines and other applications.
All right, so I think that's a really nice introduction to ChatGPT and talking about deep learning models and how it gets its, how does it work? How does it get to the results that it gives us when we ask it a question or ask it to perform a function for us. Any thoughts on ChatGPT before we actually go into it?
Yeah,
and see
just
what it looks like?
excited to see how I could use this for my studies.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to do is open up ChatGPT, and they have a free version and they also have a premium version that costs money. I'm obviously on the free version because I don't like to pay for anything, but I was able to connect, or I didn't have to create a new login. I just did it through one of my Gmail accounts. I did kind of pause and think, well, is this a good idea to connect it with all of my Google, analytics or whatever? But I thought the convenience outweighed the anxiety about my privacy being compromised. So, obviously that's up to each individual person. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, this is version 3.5. And we can go ahead and put in a prompt. So I'm going to ask it to write a 1-page essay on challenges that college students face. So just to be clear, what I am doing right now is asking it to write a paper for me. Okay, and I'm not advocating for you to do this, but I just want to show you what it would look like if you were to ask it to write a paper. Okay, so here we have it. I mean, that was like less than 45 seconds, I think. And what I want to ask you to do is to take a minute or two to read the essay and think about, what did ChatGPT get right? Get right as an RIGHT, not right, like writing. And also, what did it get wrong? What feels off about it? So if you're, watching the video, you can pause and just sort of think about it.
I feel like there's some statements there that could use some citations, maybe.
Okay. Well, actually, that brings up a really good point, that there are no citations. There are no in-text citations, which, for those of you that don't know, you want to use an in-text citation. You should use an in-text citation whenever you are incorporating a research source, an outside source, into a paper. So that leads me to think, well, where did they get this information from?
I'd like to know
Is
that.
it credible and reliable? What were you saying?
Well, like, the part where it says mental health issues, I feel like there's definitely that's definitely a statement where there's research behind a topic like that. So
Right.
as a student, yeah, I definitely would like to know, where they got this sort of info.
Right.
So I think this is on the challenges and limitations side that we were discussing earlier.
Right. It's lacking supporting documentation.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I think it gets right would be that it's really nicely organized. So you've got your introduction, and then you've got the challenges that are sort of outlined. So you could sort of use this as an outline for your paper. So to give you an idea of, okay, I could do something about the, mental health issues, do a paragraph about finances. Demanding workloads and expectations. So that, I think, is kind of nice to have a sample. Studies show that when students have sample work, that it is very effective in their learning.
Jenny had mentioned maybe it could help come up with a thesis statement too.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to my next part, which is that I wanted us to, do I have something here? Hold on. Oh yeah, what does ChatGPT get right? What does it wrong? Okay, sorry. Why don't we ask it to write a research question? And that's what we'll do. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write a research question on the topic of body image. I'm actually using the examples in this presentation from research appointments that I've had with students in the past couple weeks. Oh, what's happening here? Huh. Oh, here we go. So it asked, it gave a research question on the topic of body image, which is that how does exposure to idealized body images in media and societal norms impact individuals' perception, blah, 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 blah. So this is like a pretty high level research question. So what you can do is actually ask it to make it more basic. How does media influence body image perceptions? So that might be more appropriate for a 1000 level English composition course for a college student. And from here, you can, talk about social media maybe, or make it more narrowed, Instagram or TikTok, talk about a specific social media that is influencing the body image perceptions of, let's say, you can add on adolescent girls, but it really gives you a nice idea of a research question that you can use, which is similar to, your thesis statement as well.
I think this is something that students for sure can use to come up with these basically these topics, that they have to propose to their professors as far as what they're going to write about. This would be great.
Right, so we can actually ask it to write an outline on this topic. And it seems to be taking a little while. Maybe a lot of people are on ChatGPT right now. Okay, so now we have an outline that you can read and go over and see how it works based on your assignment guidelines, like what is being asked of you by your professor, and what you feel is the most compelling or interesting about this topic. So like for me, I would probably be interested in the portrayal of body image, the effects of the media on the body image. This really doesn't apply here, but you could just pick and choose and see, and it gives you an idea of what you can then research to get more information about different points within or arguments within the outline. Any questions so far? Does this kind of make sense of how you can apply it to a research paper that you might be writing?
Certainly gives ideas, starting points. Again, it's just I like to use the word tool. It's definitely a tool that can help out most students.
I love that analogy, because you're not saying that it is like let's say you're building a table. It's not the table, it's the tool to help you build the table.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm asking it to find sources on the topic, which actually it gave sources. But sometimes when you have you ask ChatGPT to find a source for you, you would get something that looks like this. Because it actually can't, ChatGPT, its data set is only as recent as January of 2022. You will not find information that is after January of 2022. So if you were to do your research on something like, I don't know, the relationship of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, because they started dating after 2022, you would not get any real-time sources on that topic, or something that is within the current events. But what you will get is a suggestion of different databases and academic sources where you can find research and resources in. So let me show you what happens if we were to ask ChatGPT. Well, let me kind of wrap up with this point, which is that it did give us actual sources that we could then look up online or in our library databases as to whether we have that specific article or book. But as you can see, these are sources that I would not really consider to be that comprehensive or maybe relevant, because these are sources that are a little bit outdated. So 2008, it's a study and analysis from 2008. 2002 is, like over 30 years ago. There's not a whole lot that is the most recent. The most recent source is 2019. So, with this kind of topic, there are so much that is being studied concerning this from a sociological perspective, that going to a source that is maybe published in the past year or so would be more, can be more insightful.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that all make sense? Do we have questions or comments?
So, would you mind showing us what happens if we were interested in a recent news event?
Sure.
Maybe
so let's ask, Tom Hiddleston, who is the actor of, oh my gosh, what is that called? Luke. It's like a Thor character.
Yeah, one of those.
Okay, so did Tom Hiddleston, who coincidentally is one of Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends, speak at Miami-Dade College recently?
He did yesterday.
Yeah, he was here. We know that, but ChatGPT does not know that. So this is a response that you would get if you ask something that happened recently, post January 2022.
Jenny's on cue with low key. That's
low key. That's it. I was like, I knew it was an L and there was an O and I felt like there was an I, but yeah, low key. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty cool how you mentioned that it's not going to have more of the recent stuff. So
right.
I think it's pretty cool that you showed us what it does show us when it doesn't have that information.
Yes. Okay, so I want to go back here and just show you the suggestions that the ChatGPT gave about finding sources on that topic. I guess you could change the prompt to saying, what academic sources could I find sources on this topic from, right? Because you don't necessarily want articles published in 2002. And so I just cross-checked the list in ChatGPT on the suggestions, and I highlighted the databases that Miami-Dade College Libraries subscribes to. So that would be PubMed, JSTOR, Academic Search Complete, and APA Psych articles. So really quick, what I want to do is just go into one of these databases for you to, let's see. I don't want to exit the presentation, so I'm copying the link and we'll go to Academic Search Complete. So the link is there. You can also just Google Miami-Dade College Library or MDC Library, and then click on databases. And I'm just going to go to Academic Search Complete. This is just going to be a really quick, brief demo of the library database. And what you might want to do is look at the outline that ChatGPT gave us and, pick a, a point and generate a search term or keywords to put in the search box. Or you can even ask ChatGPT to generate search terms, or what search terms can I use? Something along those lines, and it will give us some search terms that you could use.
The appointments I have with students, I
Oh, this
do
is the one.
notice that one of the more challenging things in our appointments is coming up with good search terms.
Hmm.
Because as you notice, these databases are quite sort of tricky, especially for someone that isn't used to databases. But I think you showed it right here. You have 20 good search terms that you can use in our databases, and sometimes it's hard to come up with one good one. I notice a lot of students kind of get a little discouraged after trying 2 or 3 search terms that aren't quite working out. But I see you have 20 suggestions here, and this is great. This would be great for our students to use. Again, another tool, just another tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you see things from your perspective, but you've never, thought of it in other words, or there's concepts or terms that you've never heard of. Body positivity movement. Oh, what's that about? That would be a way that you could kind of you have just different perspectives, or generate other ideas of how you can formulate your search. The thin ideal,
Yeah,
and
this
then
is
bringing up other kind of related topics like eating disorders, cultural influences,
yeah.
things like that.
You sold me. I'm gonna use this. Sometimes I need help with search terms, it's
Yeah,
so this
great.
is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and then don't forget, you can also go to the outline and think about, different search terms that you can use based on here. So
Cool.
you're doing searches to kind of then elaborate and support or challenge what has been given to you in the outline. So let's do, a search from one of the things from the outline. Let's do impact on self-esteem, and we'll just do that as a sample. So we're going to do body image. And actually, it came up as a suggested search term, something very similar within the database, self-esteem or self-image or body dissatisfaction. We have impact on self-esteem. And that also came as a suggested search term, which means that other users of this database have done that exact search as well. So we can do a search. And now we have 107 different results. And it could be a whole other skill shop of how we can now utilize these sources and how to navigate within the database and learn about all the tools within the database. But I mean, this is really just a brief introduction for you all.
I think that's great. Yeah. I'm really glad you shared that. That's really cool that we can use ChatGPT to help us use the databases.
Yeah, because you're still going to need to write it yourself,
Yeah.
research yourself, incorporate that research within your paper. You're still going to need in-text citations. You're still going to need the citations to show your professor that, yes, I researched and this is what I learned, and this is where I'm using it and incorporating it into my writing. Oh, I'm glad you're finding it helpful. Okay. All right, so that hopefully piqued your interest with the library databases. Unless anyone has any questions, that really concludes our Skillshop's presentation on researching with AI. So I'm going to ask you to please take the survey. I'm not sure if those watching the video would be taking the survey, or this is more for people that are here live. That's, I guess, clarification I need to get, but feel free to take the survey if you're watching this recording. We appreciate it. This is data that's very important for us as librarians to inform us, give us feedback, help us tweak our presentations for the next time, and also give us an idea of what other presentations we should be doing in the future. And last but not least, we have our contact information. So Edwin and I are both located in the North Campus, Building 2, which is the learning resources. Our phone numbers are here, and also are the links for you to book a research appointment with us, either in person or through Zoom, to get customized one-on-one research assistance. So thank you so much for joining and for participating and watching this video.
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you. Bye.